Hello everyone and welcome to week 2 of English 90. This week you're going to be watching this week's lecture like you're doing right now. Then you're going to learn a little bit about how to use a dictionary in this lecture, and then you'll complete the assignment consulting a dictionary, which will be due this Saturday at 11:59 p.m. You will need access to Napa Valley College website in order to do this work. You're going to also actively read from Citizen, pages 7 through 19, which we're going to be talking about. You're going to be actively reading. That means you're going to be reading with a pen and writing all over your page. Then you're going to participate in a discussion forum on Citizen, and I'll talk about how that's going to work. Your initial post will be due on Saturday at 11:59 p.m., and then your responses to your peers' post will be due on Tuesday at 11:59 p.m. And then the last thing you're going to be doing this week is you're going to do a writing assignment. It's called Between Your Historical Self and Your Self, and that is due on Tuesday at 11:59 p.m. All right, well, let's start with a little bit of information on consulting a dictionary. I'm going to use a prop. This is half of the Oxford English Dictionary. You don't have to consult one of these, but it's super fun. What we will be using is the online database that we have available to us at Napa Valley College. So according to our book, The Least You Should Know About English, having access to a good dictionary, it's like having a 24-hour resource. It helps you with spelling and pronunciations. It helps you find which definition that the word is being used as. You can figure out what foreign phrases mean, or abbreviations, famous names, geographical locations. All of that can be found in the dictionary. So one thing you can look at is how a word is spelled, right? Sometimes that can be really tricky. And if you just use spell check, you won't really find, exactly why a word is spelled in a certain way. And then capitalization, you can find out if a word is always capitalized or not, or just sometimes. Compound words. So these are words or phrases that are made up of two or more words that work together as one. And sometimes they are just two words separately, like hot dog, or they're connected with a hyphen, like father-in-law or mother-in-law, or they're written as one word as handmade. Hand and made is two separate words stuck together in a compound word. A lot of times we don't know how to pronounce words. This happens to me all the time. And the great thing is when we're online is you can actually, you can press a little button and it'll pronounce the word for you. There's also a little pronunciation guide, and that's very helpful because it tells you where the accent is, like where you want to put your emphasis when you're saying the word. Parts of speech, the dictionary will tell us which parts of speech. Remember last week where we talked about all the different parts of speech? When you look in a dictionary at any of the entries, you'll see they're excuse me, they identify which part of speech the word is in the specific definition that you're looking at. And speaking of definitions, most words have more than one definition, and so you can look at all of them together. You can look up what abbreviations mean, right? You can look up how a word is used, its usage label. So it'll tell you if this is just a slang word and maybe you shouldn't use it on your resume, right? Or the origins of words. This is one of my favorite parts. When you look up a word in a dictionary and it tells you that it comes from Middle Dutch, or that it comes from Greek or Old English, and what those words meant in the original languages. It's really interesting. And also in the OED, you'll see, and I'll show you in the example, but you'll see like quotations of where this word, how it's used in different famous pieces of literature. Also, you can find the names of people. Famous people will be in the dictionary, and famous places. So this is what the database, the Oxford English Dictionary, looks like. How you get to it is you go to, well, there's a link to it in today's, in this week's lesson, or you can go to the NVC website, click on library, click on McCarthy Library, and then click on databases. And if you scroll down, you'll see the Oxford English Dictionary is available for you to search. This is where you type in your word. You can also just browse the dictionary. And there is a tutorial that I've posted on how to use this website. It's very short, 4 minutes. Go ahead and watch that before you do this assignment. So here I've gone ahead and looked up citizen for you, one of the many definitions. This is the citizen word. This is the version of citizen that is a noun and an adjective. And you can see that there's pronunciation here. This is a British pronunciation, a US pronunciation, and this is telling you how to say it using these words. And also you can see citizen, it doesn't have, the stress is not, the stress is at the beginning. The origin is it's borrowing from French, citizen. The etymology is it's from Anglo-Norman, and it's all these different words. You can click on this little button here for show more if you're interested in all that. The basic definition of the noun is an inhabitant of a city or town, especially one possessing civic rights and privileges, a burgess of freemen or a city. Now, if there's any words in there you don't know, you need to look them up, okay? Down below, you see some quotations about when these were being used. So for example, in William Shakespeare's play Taming of the Shrew, there was a line, Pisa renowned for Grau citizens. Or let's see, what's another one that you might know? The Bible. I am a man of blank, a citizen or burgess of city not unknown. All the funny spelling is from older documents. So your assignment, after you look up, there's a list of words posted under this week's content. And what I want you to do is look up 5 of those words, and I want you to provide the following information. I want you to give their definitions, and also which parts of speech they are in each of those definitions, what the preferred spelling is, and if the word is an abbreviation, I want you to write out what the abbreviation stands for. All right? It's going to be really useful, you guys, to learn how to use the dictionary, because not only do you need to use it when you're actively reading in this class, so look up words you don't know, it's also something you can use when you're proofreading your essays before you turn them in. And speaking of proofreading your essays, there is an extra credit opportunity this week. If you take your essay to the Writing Center and work on it with one of the Writing Center coaches, you will get 5 points extra credit on your assignment. So you just have to have them send me a report afterwards, and you will automatically get 5 extra points. So why not do that, right? You do have to, when you go see them, you need to tell them that what your assignment is, and you need to provide them with your assignment information. So let's talk a little bit about Citizen. Citizen is the book we're reading for this class. We're going to be reading another short segment, pages 7 through 19. When you read, please make sure you actively read actively read the pages. That means reading with a pen, asking questions. And I'm going to read a little bit of this aloud to you because I want you to hear it read aloud. And then we will discuss it as we go. This is page 7. Certain moments send adrenaline to the heart, dry out the tongue, and clog the lungs. Like thunder, they drown you in sound. No, like lightning, they strike you across the larynx. So in those lines, we have a simile, right? She's comparing something that's unspeakable to something else, right? She's comparing it to lightning. Cough. After it happened, I was at a loss for words. Haven't you said this yourself? Haven't you said this to a close friend who early in your friendship, when distracted, would call you by the name of her black housekeeper? So here she is talking to herself, right? But because it's in the second person, it feels like really personal, right? You assumed you two were the only Black people in her life. Eventually, she stopped doing this, though she never acknowledged her slippage. And you never called her on it. Why not? So the little insertion there of why not, talking back to herself. And yet you don't forget. If this were a domestic tragedy, and it might well be, this would be your fatal flaw, your memory, vessel of your feelings. Do you feel hurt because it's the quote, all Black people look the same moment, or because you are being confused with another after being so close to this other? So as you go and you read these, after you read the whole section, I want you to think about it as a whole. What is she talking about? And the second one on page 8, an unsettled feeling keeps the body front and center. The wrong words enter your day like a bad egg in your mouth, and puke runs down your blouse, a dampness drawing your stomach in toward your rib cage. When you look around, only you remain. Your own disgust at what you smell, what you feel, doesn't bring you to your feet, not right away, because gathering energy has become its own task, needing its own argument. You are reminded of a conversation you had recently, comparing the merits of sentences constructed implicitly with yes and rather than yes, but. You and your friend decided that yes and attested to a life with no turnoff, no alternative routes. You pull yourself to standing. Soon enough, the blouse is rinsed. It's another week. The blouse is beneath your sweater, against your skin, and you smell good. Page 9. The rain this morning pours from the gutters, and everywhere else it is lost in the trees. You need your glasses to single out what you know is there because doubt is inexplorable. You put on your glasses. The trees, their bark, their leaves, even the dead ones are more vibrant wet. Yes, it is raining. Each moment is like this, before it can be known, categorized as similar to another thing and dismissed. It has to be experienced. It has to be seen. What did he just say? Did she really just say that? Did I hear what I think I heard? Did that just come out of my mouth? His mouth? Your mouth? The moment stinks. Still, you want to stop looking at the trees. You want to walk out and stand among them. And as light as the rain seems, it still rains down on you. Now, I'm going to read two more sections. One more section for you on page 15. You and your partner go to see the film The House We Live In. You ask a friend to pick up your child from school. On your way home, your phone rings. Your neighbor tells you he's standing at his window watching a menacing Black guy casing both your homes. The guy is walking back and forth talking to himself and seems disturbed. You tell your neighbor that your friend, whom he has met, is babysitting. He says, no, it's not him. He's met your friend, and this isn't that nice young man. Anyway, he wants you to know he's called the police. Your partner calls your friend and asks him if there's a guy walking back and forth in front of your home. Your friend says that if anyone were outside, he would see him because he is standing outside. You hear the sirens through the speakerphone. Your friend is speaking to your neighbor when you arrive home. The 4 police cars are gone. Your neighbor has apologized to your friend and is now apologizing to you. Feeling somewhat responsible for the actions of your neighbor, you clumsily tell your friend that the next time he wants to talk on the phone, he should just go in the backyard. He looks at you a long minute before saying he can speak on the phone wherever he wants. Yes, of course, you say. Yes, of course. One more section I want to read you is on page 14. A friend argues that that Americans battle between the historical self and the self-self. By this, she means you mostly interact as friends with mutual interests and, for the most part, compatible personalities. However, sometimes your historical selves, her white self and your black self, or your white self and her black self, arrive with the full force of your American positioning. Then you are standing face to face in seconds that wipe the affable smiles right from your mouths. What did you say? Instantaneously, your attachment seems fragile, tenuous, subject to any transgression of your historical self. And though your joined personal histories are supposed to save you from misunderstandings, they usually cause you to understand all too well what is meant. So we are going to be thinking about, as we read this, a lot of different things, including I want you to make sure to pay attention to the image on the last page. And remember that you can look these up in the back on images in the back. This is Kate Clark's Little Girl 2008. So make sure you look that up, Google it, all right, get information about it. So we're going to be discussing these pages. But first, what you're going to be doing is reading background information about who Claudia Rankine is. And then also, I'd like you to read the description that's in the page in our website. So remember, you're going to go to modules, week 2, and then click your way through all the content, okay? So, but after you read, I want you to choose one of the questions that I have here. There's 6 different questions. And please do answer any of the open ones before you answer another one that someone else has answered. I'd like you to answer in at least 250 words one of these questions. What words, definitions, or ideas do you associate with the word citizen? Look up the word in the dictionary. What is the definition? Do these associations line up with one group of people? What is complicated about this work in America? Or you can answer, Rankine addresses you throughout the book. Where do you recognize yourself in the encounters described in Citizen, if at all? What perspectives or angles of experience were you surprised to inhabit, and why? Use your new dictionary skills to look up the word lyric in the dictionary. Look up lyric poetry as well. What definitions do you find? How does Rankine's use of lyric in the subtitle of Citizen, remember it's called An American Lyric, Citizen, an American Lyric, both adhere to and challenge these definitions and usages? Number 4, Citizen narrates many instances of microaggressions, individual acts of racism that collectively form the crushing experience of racism in America. Is racism a singular action, or is it a series of acts? What is the difference between the singular action and the accumulation of them? All right, number 5. Take a step. How does Citizen portray and address the privileged position of white Americans? How does Rankine also show the effects of a racist system on those white Americans? Number 6, what associations does the image on the cover of the book bring up for you? Is it surprising that the work of art it depicts In the Hood by Dave Hammonds was first exhibited in 1993? So this was first exhibited in 1993. How does the hood relate to the death of Trayvon Martin in 2012? What does this seemingly disjointed time frame say about the deadly effects of racism in America? So you're going to choose one of those questions after reading actively, and you're going to answer it by using quotations and information from the text that we read, or also from outside sources, okay? Your post is due on Saturday at 11:59 p.m., and then you need to respond to at least 3 of your peers' posts by Tuesday at 11:59 p.m. And remember, when you're responding to your peers, right, you want this to be a discussion, right? This is like if we were having a talk in class. If we weren't online and we were really face-to-face, this would be where we would have a lively discussion about this text. There's a lot to talk about. So please use the space as a place to do that. And I will be chiming in, so don't worry. I'll be there as well. All right, after you do all this, your final assignment this week is a writing assignment. This is one of my favorite writing assignments. I usually assign it in my creative writing class. So it's a two-part process. The first part, and I do want you to show your work, your pre-writing is going to be, I'd like you to make a list of all the things that people use to identify you. And these things can include your gender or your sexuality, your ethnicity, your race, right? Where you live or your community, your role in your family, your body type or a part of your body that you identify with, where you go to school or your job or profession. And what I want you to do is write about how each of these things defines who you are, both to yourself and to those around you. So for example, I am so my body type is very muscular. I lift weights, so I'm a strong looking lady. Okay, and growing up, and I was a swimmer growing up, and so when I would look at other women that I saw in my culture, like when I'd watch TV or an action film or even like women that were supposedly strong, they never had big muscles like mine. Like they never looked like me. And so I started to get the idea that it was weird or wrong to look like I did. And so when I wrote this essay the first time, I wrote about the space between, what my body looks like versus what society tells me my body as a woman should look like. And what it's like to, to be proud of the fact that I look different and that I'm strong and that I can lift heavy weights, that's the exploration, the space that I wrote in. You can choose anything that you want, but it needs to be something where your perception of it, how you identify with yourself, is different from the world outside of you. So what I want you to do is choose one. So you're going to do free writing where you're going to choose like 5 of these things that identify who you are, and then just kind of free write about them. So just for 5 minutes each, think about, what do you see, or how do you see yourself as a mother, or how do you see yourself as a daughter versus how maybe society sees you as that in that role, and what's the difference between those two things. Okay. After you do your pre-writing, you're going to choose which one of these roles there's the most conflict in, between what society or the historical self thinks versus what you think about yourself. Okay, so the biggest gap there, I want you to write about that. I'd like you to write an essay of at least 500 words. That's about 2 double-spaced pages, okay, where you address the reader in the second person. So that means you're going to say, you walk into a room, you do this, right? Just like Claudia Rankine does in her book. Here's some tips. You really want to challenge the space between the self, so who you think you are, and the historical self, who society or history think you should be. Who does the culture, world, society, history expect you to be versus who are you really yourself? And when you're writing, I'd like you to try to be as specific as possible so that we really feel what it's like to be you experiencing this. So your essay is due Tuesday at 11:59 p.m. Once again, if you go to the Writing Center with this assignment and a draft of your paper and you go over it with them, you can get up to 5 points extra. This is a 20-point assignment, so it's a big chunk of extra. All right, if you have questions, don't forget, you can reach out to me. All right, this is the end of our second week of class. Sorry, it's a typo. You learned how to understand how to consult a dictionary, how to strengthen your active reading skills so that you can interact with citizen, how to further learn to critically think about a text and write about it through our discussion forum, and how to write about your experiences in the second person. So make sure you've completed all the assignments by Tuesday. Let me know if you have questions. I do have office hours Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday from 10:30 till noon, and also by appointment. All right, that's it, guys. I'll see you online.